When we spoke to the candidates, the majority of them said that benevolence was something that they took very strongly, and that's one of the motivators for joining Masonry. So we thought that we would like to show them the benevolent wing or the philanthropic wing of Masonry, which was the shrine. And we're very fortunate in having Jim Doel in our backyard. And Jim is more than welcome or more than happy to share with us anything that he can concerning the shrine. Before we begin, though, I would like, excuse me, I would like to have people unmute themselves if they are Shriners and just introduce themselves. I'll begin. Uh, Noble Angus Gillis, Tuna Shrine.
Noble Dan Graham, Mocha Shriners, and a clown.
Noble
Bob
Barry
Conrad.
Burchell, Tunis Oriental Band.
Bob Conrad, Tunis Clown.
Noble Neil Dolson, Mocha Shrine.
Wayne Lavier, Tunis Temple.
Noble Adam Thompson, Assistant Raban, Tunis Temple.
Noble Costa Hatsis, member of the director's staff, and also member of the Board of Governors of Shriners Hospital for Children Canada.
Noble Fred Haggart, Commander, Legion of Honor, Tunis Temple. I'm also the Chairman of Marketing, Communications, and Social Media.
Noble Jason Gifford.
Oh, sorry.
Noble Jason Gifford, Tunis Shrine, and the Culinary Club.
Tom Simmernick, Mocha Temple, London. Thank you.
John Moore, Tunis Temple, Air Force.
Richard Looms,
David Doel. I'm also part of the Culinary Club.
Excuse David. Richard Looms, Chief Urban, Tunis Temple. I'm also in the dish pit with David there at the Culinary Club.
Edward Denby, Legion of Honor, Tunis.
Edward Ferruzo with the Mocha Shriners.
I think that, oh, we have one more.
I can't get my, there it is. Devin Fermoil, St. Andrew's Lodge, and a member of the board, and also a member of Board of Relief.
And we have Daryl.
Yes, Tunis Lodge, Daryl Parley.
Well, nobles, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Brethren, thank you for joining us. Now for what everybody has come for, we'd like to listen to what our guest speaker has to say. And I would like to ask Brother Dan Delatour if you would introduce our guest speaker, please.
Jim Doel was initiated in Masonry November 1993 in True Britain's Lodge number 14 in Perth, Ontario. After going through the chairs, he was elected Worshipful Master in 2017-2018. Worshipful Brother Doel is also a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason, Valley of Hamilton. Worshipful Brother Doel joined Tunis Shriners in 1996 and was appointed Outer Guard 4 years later. He was elected Pontificate of Tunis Shrine in 2009, thus becoming illustrious Sir Jim Doel. In January of 2010, he was elected to Board of Governors, Shriners Hospital for Children's in Boston's Mass. In 2014, Worshipful Brother Doel became the first Canadian to be elected to the Board of Trustees for Shriners Hospital for Sick Children International, then re-elected in 2017 and again in 2020. This is the board that oversees the operations of 22 hospitals located in Canada, United States, and Mexico. Currently, Worshipful Brother Doel serves as chairman on several committees, chairman of medical affairs, of corporate compliance and ethics, and chairman of affiliation evaluation. He's also vice chair of motorsports, hospital regulations, and Board of Governors nominating committees. In addition to his leadership roles in the aforementioned committees, he also sits on 4 other committees as a member: strategic planning, salaries and personnel, budget and finance, and the building and equipment committees, where he is the liaison to Shriners Hospital for Children Boston construction project. It is with great pride that St. Andrews 560 welcomes illustrious Sir Jim Doel as our guest speaker this evening. Sir Jim Doel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Geez, I'd forgotten that I have that many jobs. Anyway, thank you and good evening to all. Protocol having been established, I'll first offer thanks to St. Andrew's Lodge for inviting me to speak tonight. And thank you to everyone for attending. I hope you enjoy the presentation. Our topic this evening is philanthropy, or if you prefer, charity in Masonry. Charity is one of the cornerstones of Masonry, as we all know, and one that we profess to admire and practice. My talk and video will focus on the largest Masonic charity in the world, Shriners Hospitals for Children. Shriners Hospitals for Children was formed 99 years ago by some very charitable thinking Masons who felt that our institutional calling was the treatment and care of children that were affected with crippling disease. In our 99-year history, we've treated well over 1 million children without regard for the family's ability to pay. Indeed, for our first 87 years, no payment was accepted, regardless of the family's financial situation. We routinely treated the children of millions and would refuse all and any payment. Our hospital facilities are located in Canada, throughout the US and Mexico, and with other clinics held all over the world. We treat children with crippling disease, orthopedic conditions, spinal cord injury, burns, cleft lip and palate, and craniofacial conditions. First part of the presentation will be a short video, which will be followed by a PowerPoint presentation, and I will be available to answer questions afterwards should you have any. So without further ado, Jesus, perhaps we all could watch Mia's story.
Hi, my name is Mia. I'm 16 years old and I'm your new National Patient Ambassador this year. I live in Edwardsville, Illinois. I have my mom and my dad, my brother, Evan.
When Mia was born, she was the most aware little baby I'd ever seen.
She was an easy baby, beautiful, bright blue eyes that just kept staring at us, smiled at us numerous times while we were holding her, and it was lovely.
She is a very smart individual. She always seems to know how to deal with a situation, you know, considering the background and what she's been through.
I would say it's probably 3 to 4 months in of her young life, and holding her on the couch and feeding her and letting her sleep on me, I'm noticing that I'm feeling a shape that's not straight up and down on her spine. Very concerned, and I knew in my mind that it wasn't right. There was definitely something going on. So I went for her 4-month pediatric visit and brought the subject up to her physician at that time.
The pediatrician kind of dismissed it initially. In a follow-up visits, though, I think it became apparent that there was something wrong.
She had her first x-ray, which confirmed her curvature. So she was actually fitted for her brace at 18 months and started wearing one at that point through Children's Hospital.
We tried the clamshell braces, and and those kinds of things, and nothing seemed to help. It just seemed to be getting worse and worse. It was apparent that we were going to have to take a more drastic approach to helping her because her heart and her lungs were not developing appropriately. We initially got a lot of pushback from our insurance because they called these sorts of things cosmetic in nature. We fought with them for a little while, but then we ended up being referred to Shriners, the best referral that that could have happened, obviously.
Mia is a perfect example of what the Shriners can provide. She had a very large curve as a young child, which if it had gone untreated, would have resulted in a very different story today. As a child grows, from probably 3 or 4 years old to 10 years old, we tried not to fuse their spine and we tried to just lengthen their spine. So Mia ran the gamut of spine interventions for her scoliosis, from bracing to a growing construct to her definitive fusion. Halo traction allows us to get almost free curve correction. That if you take someone to the operating room, you can only get so much straightening of their spine at one time in a safe manner. Putting a child in a halo helps you achieve a safer, greater correction than if you were to try and do it all in one go in the operating room.
I lived in the hospital for a couple months with my halo, and I just remember having so much fun. Sometimes you remember the bad points, but I mostly remember all the good times. It was such a fun summer when it normally wouldn't be, but it was really fun, actually.
So that was the start of my journey and Mia's journey in our life with Shriners Hospital, which has been nothing but a blessing since then.
During those years, it was about 17 surgeries total, and I was probably 12 or 13. I had my last surgery and I had my fusion, so I'm all done with surgeries. The people at Shriners are amazing. Every single nurse or doctor I have encountered is a really good person, and it's just a really kind environment. Surgery was always actually an enjoyable experience. I loved going to the hospital and getting ready to go into surgery because I got to talk to all my caregivers, and especially Joetta. She's like a grandmother to me. She's been there for as long as I can remember.
Mia was a little bitty thing when we first saw her, and I've watched her grow through the years into a beautiful young lady. She and Amy and I hit it off from day one.
I was getting the best surgeon I could possibly get for my daughter. It's a feeling that swells your heart and overwhelms you.
Kids can be interesting in school, middle school especially. You start in locker rooms and everything, and you get some stares when you have a big back scar and some questions. You kind of get used to it, and I almost think of a scar as like a souvenir. I've been on a really long journey, and I couldn't just buy it, It's really interesting that a scar on your body could tell so many different stories.
She started to love music and singing, probably by age 4. By 3rd grade, she had her first singing teacher and was getting singing lessons because she just loved it so much, because she could express herself through music.
And when I came to middle school in 6th grade, I noticed they had musicals, so I decided to try out.
She came and auditioned for one of our productions for the theater company we run, and ever since, we've been hooked on her.
I've done probably about 10 big shows, and you make just a lot of really, really beautiful memories.
We have a non-for-profit arts group called Arts for Life, and they give out performance awards. So up against about 1,500 performers, and she won for Best Outstanding Youth Performer. First time out of the gate.
Yeah.
So.
I remember seeing her on stage for the first time in a performance. I always knew that she could sing, but when I saw her on stage and she became that role that she was playing, I was really taken aback. I had no idea that she was that talented. You know, whatever that it is, she definitely has it.
The most amazing thing about Mia is that she puts her whole self into her artistry. And for someone so young to have all of that and the ability to make us as audience members feel an emotional connection with what she's portraying is really something extraordinary and phenomenal.
Mia has a presence on stage that we call that X factor, and it's always hard to identify and always hard to find. But when you see someone on stage that has that X factor, you're pulled to the edge of your seat. Talent gets you into the room, but the resilience and the perseverance that you have as your work ethic is what will take you further. And that's really something that I see in Mia every day.
I've filmed a lot of commercials in the past with Shriners. It's really awesome to be able to put my performing into raising awareness as well. It reaches so many people and it's brought in a lot of money for us. It just makes me feel really good to know that I have helped in some way.
It's her hospital. It's another home to her. It's her family. And she gets to express that. She gets to share that through the TV, and it gets to reach everyone nationwide. That's one of her favorite things because it reaches so many people.
I was at the hospital, and Kelly Hansen, the lead singer of Foreigner, came to visit all of us. And I actually became quite close with him. 10 years later, I was actually sent out to Tampa to film the I Want to Know What Love Is PSA, and I got to see Kelly again. He came up to me and he was like, I remember you, I met you 10 years ago, and it's so crazy that a celebrity who meets so many people would remember a little kid he played air hockey with. It was awesome. This is definitely unexpected. I thought my medical story would just be scoliosis and I'd be done.
Last fall, my husband and myself, we noticed that she had a nodule on her neck.
And we thought it would just be hypothyroidism because that's what my mom had.
She had lab work done, and so when we got to the endocrinologist, she said, yes, your thyroid labs are elevated, your ultrasound shows that you have tumors in there, you need more testing done. Some of them are large enough that say that you need to go see a surgeon.
And when they tested it and checked it, it was true that I did have thyroid cancer.
Getting that call was probably one of the worst, things a parent could ever imagine. The first reaction everybody had was, you got to be kidding me. Like some kind of a cruel joke or something.
I can't believe this. This kid's been through enough. We've already had 17 surgeries on her back.
I have to do a few more treatments, but that's okay. I mean, that's life. It's definitely taught me I'm not invincible. I always had this mindset that I've been through such a long story that I don't need to go through anything else. But I know that happened for a reason. It's taught me a lot, and I've taken a lot of emotions out of it that I hope to use in the future.
She's had to fight a lot in her life. She's never been the kind of kid that gave up and said, oh, well, she's got this. She's not going to let anything beat her. And at the other end of it, she's going to be even stronger for it.
We're not given more than we can handle. Sometimes you think you are at the moment, but she's handled it all. I think Shriners helped her gain some of that strength through all that she went through as a patient here. I'm very proud of her and the way she handles situations. She just takes them like a champ.
Shriners is just such a hopeful environment. It's become another home to me. And I don't think I could ever say that about a hospital or really any other place.
You weren't walking into such a large hospital that you felt like you were another number or felt like you were just a patient, but you felt like you were becoming part of something bigger than yourself.
They did their best to make sure you felt like you were a part of a family. And that meant a lot.
I have a lot of appreciation for those people. They come in and day out and help out the kids who need it the most, and always give a level of care that exceeds any expectation of any parent. Through Shriners, they helped my sister establish a life that is much better than it would have been.
I'm proud of her. It's amazing because she has been put through a ringer, and she has taken every lick that it has brought and makes her stronger. And I think that the grit that she has shown through this is really what makes her special.
I think what's inspiring is just the ability to get back up and keep going and push for your dreams still.
She has it, and if she keeps going, she'll go far.
To be a part of helping somebody else find their dreams is an incredible privilege, and I'm so honored that I get to be a part of her dream.
And I look up to her, and I want to be as tough as she is and talented as she is. I work to achieve that same level of success that she has.
Mia's probably the strongest person I know. From the moment she was born, she had a spark about her. No matter what she's dealing with, no matter what kind of problems that she has or things that she's going through, her heart always goes out to other people. I would say she's made me a better person.
More than words can express. I love her with all my heart. She's just a wonderful person. She's so intelligent. She's a good student. And she's one of my best friends, and I just love her to pieces. Just absolutely love her.
I want to be known as the girl who overcame everything. And being able to use my talent for some good, I want people to think, wow, anybody can do it then. I don't think I'd be as happy of a person if I wasn't with Shriners. It's a huge part of my life, and without it, I think I'd probably be a little bit lost. So I guess I would just want to inspire more people to follow their dreams, because I feel like the world would be a happier place if people were doing what they loved.
I think we can all agree that Mia's story is amazing. And Mia is an amazing young woman. It's interesting to me, just as an observation on this video before we go further, it's interesting to me that while we treat the medical conditions of these children, the Shriners Hospitals for Children, we treat the whole child. We treat the child psychologically as well, which is to say, we treat the child to understand and accept the situation that they're in and the condition that they're in, and that it is getting better. And perhaps this is anecdotal, but my observations have been on meeting many patients is that they're high achieving and they're extremely well-adjusted young people. And I think that our philanthropy doesn't always get the credit for that, but that's a huge part of what we do. These kids don't just get fixed; they get fixed, and their attitude is exemplary, and we can be proud of everyone. Thank you, Jesus. Perhaps can we go to the back to the PowerPoint? Thank you. Next slide, please. So the mission statement of Shriners Hospitals for Children is to provide the highest quality care to children with neuromusculoskeletal conditions, burn injuries, and other special healthcare needs within a compassionate, family-centered, and collaborative care environment. We provide for the education of physicians and other healthcare professionals. We conduct research to discover new knowledge that improves the quality of care and quality of life of children and families. The mission is carried out without regard to race, color, creed, sex, or sect, disability, or national origin, or ability of the patient or family to pay. Next slide, please. A quick history of the Shriners Hospitals for Children system. 1922, the first Shriners Hospitals for Children opened in Shreveport, Louisiana, primarily to address the needs of children affected with the polio virus. Later, it began to offer a full line of orthopedic care. As a footnote, 3 years later, in 1925, the Canadian Hospital in Montreal was opened. 1962, after a vote at this imperial session, treatment for burn injuries was added to the healthcare system's care disciplines. Very shortly after, our Burns Hospital in Boston was instituted, as well as Galveston, Cincinnati, and then much later, Northern California. 1980, the first spinal cord injury rehabilitation unit specifically designated for children opens at Philadelphia Hospital. That hospital has turned into arguably the premier spinal cord injury rehabilitation center for children in the world. Our spinal cord injury subspecialty has expanded to St. Louis, where Mia was treated. It's expanded to Chicago and to Portland, Oregon, among others. 2005, we added cleft lip and palate to the official designated service lines. That service line very closely follows where our spinal cord injury hospitals are, as I guess a lot of the specialists that need to do that work are quite often cross-trained. 2020, since opening that first hospital nearly 100 years ago, Shriners Hospitals for Children has provided care for more than 1.4 million children. Next slide, please, Jesus. Who we are, right there. There's our 4 specialties: orthopedic conditions, burn injuries, spinal cord injuries, and cleft lip and palate. Next slide, please. Orthopedic conditions. Our locations are equipped to handle virtually all pediatric orthopedic problems. We offer a range of services, including therapies, orthotics and prosthetics, and other activities and programs. Shriners Hospitals for Children is dedicated to providing medical and rehabilitative services to children with congenital deformities and conditions, orthopedic injuries, and diseases of the musculoskeletal system. Our pediatric orthopedic surgeons are board certified. Next slide, please. Our multidisciplinary approach and wraparound care treats the whole child, not just the condition. We are dedicated to delivering exceptional orthopedic care in a nurturing, family-centered environment. Next slide, please. Most common orthopedic conditions: pediatric scoliosis, cerebral palsy, osteogenesis imperfecta. And I'm going to stop on it for a minute, and I'm going to mention that our Canadian hospital in Montreal is the actual, I don't think it's unfair to say, the world leader in OI. A lot of the treatment that is standard of care throughout the world was developed at our hospital in Montreal. Spina bifida, congenital limb deficiencies and amputations, clubfoot, hand disorders, leg calf Perthes disease, and other hip disorders, chest wall deformities, and something that we're getting more involved in every day, sports injuries and fractures. Next slide, please. Burn injuries. Our burns hospitals provide critical surgical and rehabilitative care to children with new and healed burns. You might ask about healed burns. Scarring develops in children, and it continues to develop as they get into young adulthood. And that scarring can be mitigated through various treatments, including surgery, long after the burn is healed. Each hospital can provide reconstructive and restorative surgery, treatments for scarring, smoke inhalation, complex skin conditions, and more. Since Shriners Hospitals for Children opened its first location specializing in burn care in the mid-60s, these hospitals have been leaders in burn care research and education. Because of the excellent, innovative treatments provided at these hospitals, children have a greater chance of surviving all types of burn injuries. It's worth noting that a burned child in the province of Ontario goes to a hospital for children on University Avenue in Toronto. But what you may not know is virtually the entire burn staff has been trained by Shriners in Boston. Very interesting side note. Next slide, please. Burn care may also include surgical interventions, including reconstructive surgery, skin grafting, tissue expanders, tissue transfers or flaps, laser treatment, custom compression garments to help flatten scars and reduce their appearance, and occupational and/or physical therapy. Next slide, please. Spinal cord injury. Our healthcare system continues to be recognized worldwide as a leader in pediatric spinal cord injury rehabilitation and management. Services include therapies, counseling, and independent living skills. Next slide, please. Shriners Hospitals for Children began the country's first pediatric spinal cord injury rehabilitation program in 1980 at the Healthcare System's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Hospital. Similar programs were started a few years later in Chicago, Illinois, and Sacramento, California. Shriners Hospitals for Children is the only multi-hospital healthcare system in the United States with spinal cord injury rehabilitation and management programs designed specifically for children and teenagers. Our healthcare system continues to be recognized worldwide as a leader in pediatric spinal cord injury rehabilitation and management. The next slide, please. Comprehensive inpatient and outpatient services directed by physicians specializing in pediatric spinal cord injuries include critical and intensive care, orthopedic, plastic, and reconstructive surgery and neurosurgery, physical, occupational, recreation, and speech therapy. Psychosocial guidance and assistance, including counseling and support services. Exercise-based wellness and fitness programs, experiential programs to encourage confidence and independent living skills, urological consultations and surgery. Next slide, please. Cleft lip and palate. This is services that we're performing in Boston, Chicago, Cincinnati, Tijuana, Pasadena, Portland, Sacramento, Shreveport, and Springfield. Treatments are designed to improve the child's appearance and ability to eat, breathe, and communicate. Each patient's unique treatment plan may include surgery, orthodontics, hearing, speech, and psychological therapies, along with specialized support. We strive to help each child achieve optimal function and to improve their facial appearance and to strengthen their self-esteem. Next slide, please. Cleft lip and palate deformities occur when the tissue that forms in the upper lip and roof of the mouth fail to join together before birth. This condition is associated with alterations in speech, hearing, and facial growth. Cleft lip and palate is corrected by reconstructive surgery and multidisciplinary therapies. Next slide, please. Each patient's unique treatment plan may include surgery, orthodontics, hearing, speech, and psychological therapies, along with specialized support. We strive to help each child achieve optimal function, to improve their facial appearance, and to strengthen their self-esteem. It's very important. Next slide, please. Specialized services. Someone didn't use spell check. Shriners Hospitals for Children provides the additional services to help make us the best individualized care plans and to allow our patients to become as independent as possible. Two examples are our motion analysis centers and our orthotics and prosthetics program. Next slide, please. Our motion analysis centers, or MALs, we're an international recognized leader in clinical motion analysis. This motion analysis centers at Shriners Hospitals for Children complement our healthcare system's commitment to provide excellent care to children with orthopedic conditions, including those caused by neuromuscular problems such as cerebral palsy. The information provided by motion analysis can be used to improve both patient outcomes and treatment protocols. When we understand how a child with a mobility impairment moves, we can help them move more efficiently, more effortlessly, and more confidently. Next slide, please. Our motion analysis centers have high-speed cameras, reflective markers, and force platforms and muscle sensors that combine to record and measure how a child with a mobility impairment is moving. The technology of the Motion Analysis Center provides a way to collect detailed data that provides a complete picture on how and why a patient's muscles, joints, and bones are interacting. This picture gives us the understanding often needed to provide the best treatment recommendations for our parents. Availability of pre- and post-operative data helps to refine and adjust surgical procedures to achieve even better outcomes in the future. Motion analysis can also be used to provide better understanding of some upper extremity abnormalities, such as brachial plexus palsy, and to analyze how individuals with spinal cord injuries use assistive devices, such as a manual wheelchair, to help them save energy and move effectively and efficiently with less stress on specific muscles. Next slide, please. Here's a list of our motion analysis locations. You see Montreal on there. It's an initiative that we have tried to spread out throughout most of the system, and I think the initiative is to have them in every hospital in the fullness of time. Next slide, please. Orthotics and prosthetics. So our pediatric orthotic and prosthetic services, as we call POPs, customizes orthotics and prosthetic devices using groundbreaking computer-aided design technology and state-of-the-art carbon fabrication machines. POPs offers a full range of upper and lower extremity orthotics and prosthetics, as well as spinal orthotics and cranial helmets. POPs is a support service that truly sets Shriners Hospitals for Children apart and provides our patients with improved mobility, comfort, and confidence. Next slide, please. Orthotics, as a definition, are custom devices that can be simple as an insert worn in a child's shoe, a full leg brace, or other similar devices. The type of orthotic a child needs and when and how they will wear it depends on the orthopedic condition and development abilities of the child. Prosthetic devices range from a foot or a hand to a full arm or leg. The prosthetic may also require adjustment as the patient becomes more comfortable with the device. It may also need to be replaced somewhat frequently as the child grows. It's a little statistic on the bottom banner there that we provided 2,349 prosthetics and 52,683 orthotics in 2019. Next slide, please. The most amazing care anywhere. It's our back and forth. I guess that's probably about it. There's a map that shows where we're located. Is there any other slides left, Jesus? I think that was the last one. Outreach efforts. My mistake. Our motto now is more kids in more places. And in that, effort, we have reached out to the global community. We bring international patients in from 68 outreach clinics were held outside of the US. It's including Canada. We're holding outreach in Aboriginal communities, Inuit communities. We're holding outreach throughout the world. And we are committed to providing care to as many children as possible, regardless of where they live. The next slide, please. Eligibility. Children up to the age 18 are eligible for care at Shriners Hospitals for Children. If there's a reasonable possibility, they can benefit from the specialized services that we provide. Generally, care is provided up to age 18, although it may be extended to age 21 in some cases. Acceptance is based solely on the child's medical needs, regardless of the family's ability to pay. Next slide, please. Research. Shriners Hospitals for Children is committed to conducting high-quality, innovative research in areas of burns, orthopedic, musculoskeletal, and neurological injury and disease in order to improve the care and quality of life of children with these conditions and challenges. Our research staff is affiliated with several renowned universities, including Harvard University, Oregon Health and Science, and the University of California, as well as McGill University in Montreal. Oh, that's fine. Next slide, please. By maintaining relationships with more than 35 major educational affiliates, Shriners Hospitals for Children fosters an academic environment committed to providing high-quality education for its medical staff and excellent care for its patients. Several thousand physicians have received residency education or postgraduate fellowships at Shriners Hospitals for Children. Next, please. If you know a child that Shriners Hospitals for Children may be able to help, please have their parent or guardian call one of those numbers on the screen. Thank you.